information. If it exists in writing, we print it. If it exists online, we update it. If it exists on mobile, we notify. If it exists in video, we show it. If it exists in audio, we play it. In the past, the news had to wait for a paper to print for it to happen. Today, news happens in real time. It's analyzed, edited, and published immediately by us, your neighbors, and of course, you. Wherever you are, you write, edit, give opinions, share photos, and make the news happen. This is why a paper needs to be on print, on screen, and on your phone. Wherever you are, your news has its pulse in the community. The Boca Raton Tribune. We are much more than just a newspaper. We are your closest neighbor.
Hello, it is now 7:05 p.m. I am C. Ron Allen.
And I am Daryl Curry, and a warm welcome to each of you to this first edition of Community Conversation for the New Year. Happy New Year, everyone.
See, here at Community Conversations, we take full advantage of this thing that we call technology to bring our future leaders together, with members of the community leaders and their peers across the world. Well, Community Conversation was birthed back in February of 2020. Yes, in the offices at the Milagro Center here in Delray Beach. We had met with the group of young men, and we had planned to do the same with the young ladies in March. And you know what happened in March. Well, after all, they got cooped up in their homes, and we started meeting with those young ladies on the first Friday in March, and we have not stopped since. We have been coming to you every Friday night from 7 to 8 p.m. in your homes, and you have graciously welcomed us over the last 10 months. I'm proud to say, we're now in 6 countries and 1 U.S. territory, and that's a proud accomplishment in 10 months.
As you will see tonight, this 1-hour mentoring forum deepens connections and it provides discussions on a range of topics, including social emotional issues, race and inequality, improving relations with law enforcement, post-secondary education, careers, health and wellness, and politics. Let me say thank you to all the adults, parents, grandparents, educators, and responsible community servants who, every Friday night, hang out with us to share ideas and instill value in us young people. We hear from you in the streets. We get your texts and emails. We value your feedback. You are indeed making a contribution to your community, and for that we say thank you for all that you have done in the past 10 months. So Mr. Ciron, 10 months behind us, what can we expect to see in 2021?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Daryl, but before I answer that, let me also say thank you to all our guests, our callers, our sponsors, and our supporters who gave us the fuel to continue this mentoring initiative over the past 10 months. You can expect a continuation of the same quality production with more focus on the youth in our community. We certainly will be showcasing more young people and your accomplishments. And for those of you out there who may have been around since the days of, well, let's say 8-track or even blue screen TV. What was that, Miss W?
Or
Miss Franklin?
Franklin.
Oh, Miss Franklin. Full disclosure, not me. That's what they're saying around here. Just remember, howdy doody. Well, romper room. What do you know about romper room? Okay, Mr. Rogers' neighborhood. Well, that might be a little closer. Let's say Mr. Rogers' neighborhood. It will be a mixture of that. Romper room. Well, educate. It'd be a mixture of that. Educational, some fun, and certainly more community spotlight. Let's face it, guys. We are a mentoring program, and our intent is to make sure that you're fully prepared for life in this global society after high school. I like to look at this like, Daryl, a little of what we're doing right now on steroids. Anyway, you can expect the same quality production that you're used to enjoying. We ask one thing of you, though. Please, sir, please, ma'am, keep us in the loop. You know, tell us about the kids who made the honor roll. Send us your pictures of your baby, say, making the T-ball team or the Pee-wee. Well, Pee-wee may be a little too young, but you get the point. We want to be your local plug when it comes to news and issues that impacts you, our young kings and queens. Well, the annual Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. observance will be the weekend of January 15th through 18th. So if you will, mark your calendars as there will be a lot of events and programs going on around the city to mark this significant holiday. Stay tuned to our Facebook pages for more information.
Hello, young people. Are you looking for an opportunity where you can hone your leadership skills in a fun working environment? If you're 16 years or older and are serious about learning some general office, HR, IT, accounting, and marketing skills, Amazon Hub Delray Beach wants to hear from you. Community service hours are available. For more information, call 561 450 8700. That's 561 450 8700.
Well, for all our high school students out there, listen up. As you near the end of your high school days, you will be applying to colleges if you plan to take that route. But there are a lot of scholarships available for you to apply. The process for some will be simple and much easier to complete. Others will be somewhat challenging, tedious, and even a life altering of an experience as you apply to the space program. Yes, yes, it will be just as tedious as if you were trying to go to the space program of the road. One such scholarship, though, is the Coca-Cola Scholars Program, which is a highly competitive merit-based scholarship. Now, this award is granted to graduating high school seniors who put in consistent effort over the course of their 4 years in high school. Each year, 150 high school seniors will each receive a $20,000 scholarship and join a family of 6,300 alumni who are leading positive change in their communities and around the world. Let me just add that this program is so competitive that less than 1/6 of 1% of applicants were chosen to receive this extremely competitive award last year. These 150 students who were selected from an initial pool of 93,075 applications from all across the country not only exemplify superior leadership, service, and academics, but they are change agents positively affecting others in their communities. We have one of those finalists from our very own Atlantic High School, and Miss Lindsay Polidor is with us today. First, let me just say Happy New Year and congratulations, Lindsay. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
I am just happy to finally get a chance to celebrate with you, Lindsay. You are you're a finalist, and I know you've gone through. This has been a extremely challenging process that you've gone through so far. As I said earlier, this scholarship is no ordinary scholarship.
Yeah.
This is, if you will, the Mercedes of the luxury cars that generally awarded to the cream of the crop.
Yeah.
What distinguishes you from your peers that would make you the 2020 recipient of this scholarship?
So I think what can be distinguished from me and my peers is my ability to show resilience and persevere throughout my application. So my application is not perfect, unlike some people that applied, but through my application, I believe that the readers could see my passion and could see how, despite the circumstances and what I've been through, I was able to push through and show my resilience and show how dedicated I am to like really helping my community, how dedicated I am to my academics, and how dedicated I am to providing change and seeking change within my own community, and just not giving up on my community despite things not being picture perfect. I never gave up, and I always pushed through every single year, making sure I was volunteering while also taking the hardest classes at my school as an IB student. So I was just on top of my academics and on top of my leadership, making sure that I was an example for other students, other classmates, and just making sure that I was overall a positive role in my society, in my community.
Obviously, Lindsay, your mode of preparation was somewhat different. Give us an idea of what the process was like.
So when it comes to things like these, because they look at a span of over a bunch of years,
Mhm.
it's pretty important to start looking for the scholarships early on so you know what to expect. So during my freshman year, I knew that I needed to be involved in my community. I knew that I needed to find something that I like to do and that I was going to stick with it for the 4 years of my high school. And what I chose to do was I chose to volunteer at a hospital, Bethesda Hospital East, and I have about 600 hours from them, just that organization alone. I've been volunteering there since I was 14 as a freshman, and I'm still an active volunteer there. Despite like COVID and stuff, I'm still registered as an active volunteer. So I found things that I was passionate about, and once you're passionate about something, it's not going to be hard to stay and stick with it for the 4 years that you do it, because to me, Bethesda never felt like, oh, I have to go here. It was like, I want to go volunteer. I want to go help. And even though I don't necessarily want to be in the medical field, Bethesda has taught me life skills that I need, like compassion and things that I will need to excel in other areas of my life and what I choose to pursue in my future. So you have to start early by finding things that you like to do and just exploring your community and finding where, you can be a fit and help the place grow while also helping yourself grow as well.
I'd be remiss, Lindsay, if I did not give you a shout out for your performance yesterday at our Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. oratorical contest. You were the mistress of ceremonies, and I'm telling you, you were outstanding. You certainly did just a great job carrying that program, and I just want to say thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Now, how long did it take you to complete the application?
So there's two applications. So because there was about 99,000 applicants this year, and I was part of the 1.6% that was chosen to be a semifinalist. So the initial application took me around 30 minutes. I would put in my academics, my class rank. I would put in the activities that I participated in, and I would just put in like the basic information about like my GPA and things like that. And then from there, I had to actually complete a second round of application, which took me a little bit longer. I had 3 essays to write and then also a couple of short questions. So they range from like 50 to 350 words. So that took me a little bit longer. It took me a couple of days to complete those essays and those short prompts. But the initial application that they choose you, this is like the hardest round is the initial application. You have it takes around 30 minutes to do, but you have to really show them what you have done, because you don't have much words, you don't have much space. So you have to basically pick the hardest classes that you've taken, show them those hard classes, and you have to show them like how you've been involved. And from there, there's 99,000 applicants. They only choose about 1,000. So about 1.6%, and that's when I was chosen. And then when I went on to become a semifinalist, that's when I was able to, expand on the things that I've done a little bit more and dive in a little bit deeper. So that took me a little bit longer for that section.
Also forces you to focus as well.
It focuses it helps you like recall, and you have to think about things a little bit differently because you don't want to have a generic answer, because a lot of students volunteer at a hospital. Like I know a lot of students have at a hospital. It's how you speak about those experiences. It's how you talk about how they help you grow. You can't just be like, oh, I pushed someone around in a wheelchair and help them go to their car. You have to talk about it in a different way, like the experiences, like how you were able to learn from that and stuff like that. So how you speak about your experiences and how you speak about the things that you do are very important. So I suggest anybody that's applying for any scholarships, any school, don't think about it, like don't think about the generic things that you did, like, oh, I did this, I did that. Talk about what you gained from doing that, how you were able to use it in the future, how you think that it's going to help you grow as a person. So talk about, hey, I pushed someone in a wheelchair. This showed me like how to be compassionate and caring towards others, and I can use that in this field and that field. And that's how you explain it. Don't just say I just pushed them in a wheelchair, because that's a very generic answer.
Got you. If you're just joining us, we're speaking with Lindsay Polidor, who is a finalist for the Coca-Cola Scholarship. And Lindsay, we're just happy you're here with us. Now, you're very involved in community service, part of the Black Student Union on campus, the government, was it student government or student union?
Yeah.
Student government.
Yeah.
You were part of KOP Mentor Network, you're part of your House of Worship, etc., and the list goes on. What project are you most proud of, and tell me why?
So I'm very proud of everything that I do. Obviously, if I'm participating in it, I care about it. That's the type of person that I am. But the thing I think I'm probably the most passionate about is, so I actually raised about $1,085 in my sophomore year for the nonprofit Hope for Haiti. It's like a very dear project to me, where I raised this money by selling snacks and basically walking around and just informing people of a cause and seeing if they would donate. And all the funds went to this organization, and we were actually able to send about 217 youth to school for about a year, and they were able to have supplies and we provided everything to excel during the school year. And this was something that was very close to my heart, because as someone who was born in Haiti and immigrated at only the age of 1 or 2, I didn't get to really experience living there. I didn't get to experience going to school there. And I felt so fortunate that I was able to move to the United States and receive free education for basically up to you get free education for like 13 years, and you get to go to school. And it just made me realize like not as many kids are as fortunate as I am, especially the ones in Haiti. And that could have easily been me without education, without going to school. So that's really what inspired me to go ahead and raise that money and send it to those children. And to this day, it really warms my heart that despite not raising like thousands and thousands of dollars, that $1,000 that I was able to raise, starting off with the money that I earned for my birthday and my holidays, I spent that money. I went to Costco and I bought snacks, and I resold the snacks that I purchased with my own money. And I just like to this day, and that's something that it really truly inspired me. And I hope one day start my own nonprofit specifically for women of color who are not given the opportunity to go to school. So that really inspired me.
Stop right there. You're gonna, starting today, the first day of January, we're going to make sure, my 2 guests after this, at the end of the show, we're going to make sure you start that nonprofit. Okay, that's a promise that we're making to you on this, the first day of this year. But anyway, you are a leader, Lindsay. What roles have you held in your extracurricular activities? What have you learned as a result of those roles?
So, in my extracurriculars, I'm the president of HOSA. I'm the vice president of Black Student Union, and I was the president of the debate club and the founder. So as a leader, I learned to basically be an example for other students and just guide other people to do the things that you once needed guidance to do. So that's how I look at it. We're not born with our skills. We're not born with most of the skills that we have. We learn from watching other people. So if you can set a good example for other students that in the clubs that I participate in, and even at my job where I'm a team leader, you set an example for these people, and then they themselves can become leaders. And in a world full of leaders, we can just have so much change. So I like try to be an example for everyone by trying to incorporate teamwork and trying to incorporate like good relationships within the team. So doing things like that just help the whatever club, whatever participation, whatever organization that I'm working with as a leader, it just always is successful because when you collaborate, when you give good things off, it's something that's really beneficial. And you can see the people that are in these clubs and these organizations alongside me, you can see how they grow, and you can see how they watch me and they see me as a friend, they see me as a mentor. And so they watch me and they're like, Lindsay, I want to do this. I want to do this. I like how you do this. I like how you do that. And so that's really one thing that I think is really helped me with my leadership, thinking of it as, hey, like they're watching you, so you have to do what you
Right.
want them to do.
Listen, what are the things that are most important to you in life? What are your deepest personal convictions?
I personal conviction would definitely have to be knowledge. So growing up, I really enjoyed going to school. Like unlike most kids, I really loved going to school. I wanted to go to like kindergarten. I was up like my mom did not have to wake me up. I was up. I was had my backpack on. I was getting dressed. I was always excited to go to school. And then, like, as the years went on, it's kind of like I kind of grew away from education. I kind of grew away from knowledge. But then, as time went on again, through high school, through taking courses like philosophy, anthropology, I was able to just look at the world from a different point of view and being able to experience the world in a different way. And that really just made me realize, like, through knowledge, you can do anything. Through learning, you can literally do anything. Learning is the key. Once you make yourself available, once you give yourself access to learn, there's nothing that you can't do. Whether you want to learn how to ride a bike, whether you want to learn how to make a potion in chemistry, like whatever you want to do, as long as you're willing to learn, as long as you're willing to open up your ears, as long as you're willing to open up your brain, put in the work, put in the practice, you will be successful. You can change the world. And knowledge is the only thing that I think that you need to change the world, because if you learn, there's nothing that you can't do, because knowledge is key.
Lindsay, you are indeed an inspiration to me, and I'm sure to many of our listeners now. You know, if you're out there listening and you'd like to help me bring Lindsay's dream to a reality, give us a or send me a text or an email to 561-665-0151, or you can email us at info@kopmn.org, kopmn.org, and we'll be sure to make sure that Lindsay's reality or dream becomes a reality in this 2021. Thank you, Lindsay, for being here with us today or tonight.
Absolutely. Bye.
That was such an uplifting
Wow,
moment.
wasn't that
Very
something?
dawning
As
for
long
me.
as I've known this
Mhm.
young lady, I've never really seen that part of her. I knew she had the potential. I knew she was sharp, but that was deep, very inspirational, very motivating.
Sir, I've known her for 2 years now at school, and that's just a
Yep.
sliver of
She
what she
is
has to
going to go
offer when
places.
she's at school. Yeah,
Very promising
definitely.
future.
Hmm. All right. Going optimistically off of that, we welcome our friends who are joining us either on KOP Mentor Network or Boca Raton Tribune's Facebook pages. As usual, we're now on Instagram at KOP Mentoring Network, at KOPM Network. Here at KOP, we believe that leadership training prepares youth to manage their time, as you've seen with the lovely Miss Polidor, who would have to be very proactive to be able to join all of those clubs and societies and maintain her academic vigor. Work in a team setting, set goals, start conversations, facilitate meetings, and make effective presentations, all of which are positive life skills that they will carry into adulthood. Please direct your attention to our friend Mr. John Maxwell for our leadership minute for this evening. Let's get the leadership minute up. Looks like Mr. Maxwell is a bit late for today's call.
Okay,
Isn't that
we'll
right,
get
Mr.
back
Ciron?
to him. He's not. Okay, Dina.
Not
Dina.
here.
Okay, that's fine. Well, it has been 25 years since Rachel Saunders raised her hands and said that she would serve and protect the residents of the city of Delray Beach. She did just that. And recently, she climbed the ranks. Well, over the years, she climbed the ranks to be one of two assistant chiefs. And recently, she hung up her hat and walked off, ran off, or flew off into retirement. Now, over the years, she has worn many hats. Some of them include the Community Patrol Division. Some of them include in the Street Narcotics Unit, the West Atlantic Avenue Task Force. Yet she was in the Crime Scene Unit, Crimes Against Property Unit, Special Services Bureau, and yes, she was on the SWAT team, the Jump Out team, and all those. But throughout it all, Sanders served with honor, with professionalism, and with pride. Her great sense of humor has always been a huge plus around the department. She wanted to slide out of town, and I think knowing Rachel, she's probably in West Virginia now, or probably in Gibraltar, Europe, or somewhere. But she wanted to slide out quietly, just as she did on day one. But I insisted that I was going to get her on this show to give her flowers while she could still smell them. Rachel and I, let me just say, we go back, like I said, 25 years. She has been a friend of mine. She has been a true friend. And I remember back in the days when we were at Delray Full Service Center operating around there, I saw this young lady. She came, we family, let me just say this. I know we had a family that was living in squalor. And Rachel went inside that house, and what she saw in that house was detrimental to those people. And she came out, and after speaking with me, she made some phone calls, and the authorities came in. But yes, they came in and took care of business, but we also made sure that family moved on to a better life. And this woman was more than someone who was out there eager to put people in cuffs. She was about making change for her city and change for people's life. Rachel, how are you, darling? Better yet, Chief, how are you?
Rachel's just fine.
You always be Rachel to me. How are you, Chief?
I'm doing well.
Good, good, good. It is so nice to have you with us this evening. What part of the world are you in these days?
I am right here in Boynton Beach, Florida.
Oh my God. Wow. We're so fortunate to have you hang out with us for Chief, many people say they became a police officers to help people. How and why did you choose law enforcement as a career?
Well, I can tell you, Ciron, as a young woman, I was very adventurous. I can remember as a teenager saying, I want to be an FBI agent. So even at a very early age, I knew I wanted to do something exciting and meaningful in my life. So fast forward to my early 20s, I started to get serious and focus on looking at some of the things I needed to do to make myself a viable candidate to get hired. Mm-hmm. So I started some stepping stone things, and I joined the U.S. Army Reserves. And so after basic training and AIT training, I came back and I thought, well, maybe if I'm a security guard, that could help too. So I worked for Wackenhut for a while, and I put myself through the police academy. I sponsored myself, and I'll never forget our first day we were there. Instructor Glykoff, he came out and he says, all my military men stand up. Well, I was in the military, so I stood up, and he pointed at me and he said, little lady, you're the class leader. So I was a class leader. I think that helped me as well with my application purposes. And a recruiter from Delray Beach came to the academy one day and they offered me a job. So of course I said yes. And the whopping starting salary at that time for a police officer was $13.82 an hour. And I was so excited. I was like, I can't believe they're going to pay me all this money to go do something so awesome. So that is my story of how I got into law enforcement.
And over the years, you've had a meaningful career, if I might add. What was your most memorable moment during your tenure?
Well, see, Ron, there's over 25 years. There's so many. And there's two that I want to share with you. And it's probably not what you would expect. You would probably think rising through the ranks would be at the top of my list, but it was nothing like that. So I was a very young officer. I worked a midnight shift, and I went straight from the midnight shift to Publix to work an off-duty detail. And during that time of my life, I was going through some personal heartaches. I was just tired. And I remember standing outside Publix, and this little boy ran up to me, and he looked up at me. He didn't say a word. He hugged my leg, and he ran right into the store. That for me was a defining moment in my career. It reminded me what my badge and what my position symbolized. I realized that I needed to snap out of my own pain because people depended on me. So I will never, ever forget how that little boy made me feel and what he did for my career moving forward. So there's another one that stuck with me. And both of these are all, from my very early career. So I was walking down the sidewalk at Publix again, and I heard somebody call my name. And I turned around and I seen a woman approaching that I didn't recognize at first until she said her name. And this was a woman that I had arrested over and over and over for crack cocaine. But I always try to talk to her and find out the why, find out her reason for using. So this day she said, Rachel, I don't think you ever knew it. She goes, but you helped me get sober. She looked at me. She said, I have a job. I have a child. I have a home. And I'm helping people in recovery. So I was so humbled that I used my platform to help someone make the decision to change their life. And I'll never forget those two incidents in my career. So
you remember the day at the home right across from Full Service Center when you called me up that day?
I do. And there was many of days like that.
Yep.
And that's what it's all about. Those are the things that I'm proud of. Those are the things that meant something to me when you can help somebody in need.
That is so good. There have been a lot of changes. In fact, your career has changed a lot over the years. And how has law enforcement evolved since you began some 25 years ago? A lot of our young people today have no concept, no idea that there was a time, Rachel, that police officers only had, they really didn't have, this was before your time, but many of them didn't have guns, or they didn't have take-home cars, or they didn't have the light on the car. Something as simple as I was telling a young person the other day when police cars only had the bubblegum light on the top, and they didn't have radios in the cars, and they couldn't believe that.
Well, I'm not that dated, but I'm pretty dated. So there's a couple things that have evolved that really sticks out for me. I started back in 1995. And we did not have computers. We had to handwrite all of our reports. Cell phones, if you had a cell phone, oh my gosh, it was just very rare, but it was big as a brick. So technology has really evolved with advancements that we've had with the body-worn cameras, in-car cameras, drones, robots, video recording cell phones, laser recognition. I think all of that technology has enhanced officer and safety, citizen safety, enhanced officer and citizen accountability, definitely enhanced our transparency, and enhanced our crime fighting abilities. So technology is definitely at the top of that list. But I think one of the most important things that has evolved is the law enforcement shift from the warrior mindset to the guardian mindset. That was huge. The warrior mindset being us against them, and we're an occupying force coming in. That didn't work out too well for us. And I'm very happy to see law enforcement more on the guardian mentality now. I think that shift has brought us a greater focus on slowing things down, focusing on the sanctity of life, using de-escalation techniques, And also, we're doing a lot of crisis intervention training.
Right.
That was not out there when I was a young officer. So, there's also, I think, some more responsibilities and roles that our young officers are taking on today that I didn't back in my day as much, and that's dealing with a lot of the homeless issues, the homelessness, addiction, and the mental health crisis. So fortunately, there's a national spotlight right now on training officers and assisting them in how to deal with all those issues.
Okay, now, one may ask, what's Rachel going to do with all this time on her hands right now? I'm going to tell you what, I know you're going to do a lot of things, but one thing you're going to do is your task is going to be to help me help Lindsay.
What an act to follow. I was nervous after I heard her. Oh my goodness. What an inspiring young lady. And I'm with you, C-Ron.
I knew you would. I knew you would.
I would love to do. But
okay.
Rachel is going to be spending time with her family. I really want to travel and see our national parks. I love metal detecting. People make fun of me about that, but I just love it. And my passion really is for helping people and animals, that. So I'm definitely going to look
at
some volunteer work as well.
Okay.
And, just enjoying the little things in life, C-Ron.
Always a pleasure. Chief Rachel Sanders for the last time. Give it up.
Thank you. Happy New Year. Thank you for
always. Thank you, darling. Take care now.
Bye.
And now, good news going on with this. Finally, back to join us, we have Mr. Maxwell.
Bring him on.
Mr. Maxwell.
Mr. Maxwell himself.
Looks like we're having a bit of a leakage right there.
That's all right. Well, when we get Mr. Maxwell, just bring him in, Dina.
All right, going off of that, special welcome to our friends in the Bahamas, Belize, Jamaica, Tobago, and the US Virgin Islands. Please remember to share community conversation on your social media pages. If you missed the show, you can find it on Boca Raton Tribune or KOP Mentor Network's Facebook pages. This segment is brought to you by the generous donation of Healthier Delray Beach, Blanc's New Look Barbershop, DNA Total Fitness, Isra Craig, Marsha Eisenberg, and Doug Young. Thanks to our sponsors, we're able to bring you community conversation each week. As you interact with your friends and neighbors, please tell them to like our sponsors on Facebook and follow them on Instagram. We thank them for caring about our youth.
Well, tonight's show is produced by Miss Joeldina Bazua, graduating senior at Atlantic Community High School, as well as the Milagro Center. Daryl Don Lemon Creary, graduating senior also at Atlantic High School, is serving as our co-host in the big chair. And our illustrious cinematographer is Neil Sunsky, Neil Noel, and he's a proud product of KOP Mentoring Network and Village Academy. He's here telling me that he has all the videos ready. Well, if they were ready, why weren't they being played all along? That's all right. Mr. Ezekiel Hobbs, a graduate of Florida A&M University and an aspiring entrepreneur, meaning that he's available, folks, to work for you. He just graduated on Saturday, so he is ready to go to work. He is good, trust me. And he's serving as our public relations intern, and he's responsible for all our increased pressure on social media. Neil is telling me that Mr. Maxwell's ready. Is he ready, Neil? Bring him up. Can't hear him, Dina. Okay. Well, you know what? Let's see if we can get John next week.
He's not cooperating with us at all today.
What a way to start the new year. That's fine. Well, I know someone who's here with us for sure. Let's bring in Mr. John himself. So, Mr. John.
Favorite John.
Mr. John, is he here with us tonight? Not John
Yeah.
Maxwell, the other John.
Thank goodness. Okay, Mr. John.
A little different background tonight. Still at work, but
That's
happy to
all
see
right.
you guys.
Great seeing
Happy
you
New
too.
Year.
Happy New Year to you, brother. Now, it
Absolutely.
appears that President-elect Joe Biden will be inaugurated as our next president.
It's
We
true.
will have an inauguration, it seems. Tell me and all these young people listening, John, what is this inauguration? What really happens there?
So the inauguration of the President of the United States is a ceremony to mark the commencement of a new 4-year term of the President of the United States. The inauguration takes place for each new presidential term, even if the president is continuing in office for a second term. So as we remember back when Obama had an inauguration when he first got elected, and then he ended up having another one, for his second 4-year term.
It sounds like a political correct way of saying this is a big party for us before we go to work.
Absolutely. It's set to take place on January 20th. And it takes place in Washington, D.C. It's located at the Washington, D.C., the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. So that's where the inauguration would take place. Traditionally, the Supreme Court Justice, the head Supreme Court Justice, Chief Justice, I don't know why, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court is the one that, conducts the oath for the new president. And it's a tradition that we've done for a while now. And hopefully in a couple of weeks, that'll get done for this new president and let the work begin.
Got you. We had a chance to take some kids up to the inauguration. We took them to 3. We took them to Daddy Bush, we took them to President Clinton, and we took them to President Obama. And it was we had a great time, great experience for these kids. In fact, some of these kids are long gone on. They're professionals now, and they still talk about that experience. But John, one thing before you go, New Year's resolution, have you made one yet?
I have not. I think my New Year's resolution last year was to do a little bit more traveling. So I didn't get a chance to do much of that once the world shut down in March. So I'm gonna carry that forward as health and continue to work out, and then I hope to travel a little bit. Good news with this vaccine. So hopefully, by March and April it'll be available to the public, and I know everyone else has their own viewpoints on it, but I do plan to take the vaccine, and hopefully I can travel a little bit in the new year.
Well, you be safe, brother, and Happy New Year and all the best. Look forward to working with you another year.
Absolutely. Appreciate it, guys.
Take care now.
All right. Our next guest is someone who is no stranger to many, at least around South Florida. He worked as a professional journalist before he left that noble profession and went to the dark side to become a politician. However, unlike some public servants, he was one who actually took his charge to the people seriously, and he served the people. He was an advocate for the residents of this city as their commissioner and as their mayor. We here at Community Conversation would think of no better person to start the year off than Mayor Jeffrey Perlman. Mr. Mayor, thank you for being with us tonight on Community Conversation. Let's see him in.
Hi, guys. Hi, Daryl. Happy New Year, Daryl. Hi, Siron.
Happy New Year, sir.
Hey, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, sir. So what have you been up to these days? You left the public eye, you disappeared, it seems, in that abyss that Florida is known for. What's going on?
Well, 2020 was a tough year. I had a pretty severe case of COVID, so I spent about 39 days in Bethesda Hospital. So I've been spending a lot of my time kind of rehabilitating physically and trying to raise awareness on the COVID and the dangers of COVID, and speaking and writing about my experience and urging people to be safe and getting back into business.
That's interesting. Just to sidetrack on the COVID, we have there's a lot of debate about the validity of the COVID-19 virus. What can you say from someone who's contracted it actually? What guidance would you get towards someone to prevent this from happening?
Well, I guess the best analogy, Daryl, is, for most people, they're not going to have a terrible time like I did, but it's possible. So I tell them it's a risk. You have to mitigate the risk. It's like a game of Russian roulette. You don't know when you contract the disease how severe it's going to be. So if you can do anything you can to avoid it, my advice is try to avoid it because you just don't know how your particular system is going to react to it. Definitely. I had a very bad reaction.
All right. Thank you for that, sir. Unless someone reads the newspaper, no one would even know that Jeff Pearlman is still around. What are you doing these days, sir? What's going on in your life?
I'm still around, which is good to be. I wasn't sure I was going to be around over the summer when I was sick, but I work at a private equity firm in Boca Raton called CDS International Holdings, and we have a variety of investments in real estate and consumer products. We are the main shareholder in Celsius, which is an energy drink that's on the NASDAQ exchange. We are involved in a variety of real estate projects in Delray Beach and in Lake Worth. And we have a hot sauce called Tabanero that just got into Publix, and we're hoping that that's our next hit. So we have a variety of things, including restaurants as well. La Cigale here in Delray Beach is ours. So we have a lot going on, a lot on our plate.
Very productive, sir. So, Mr. Mayor, you're a well-read person who is in touch with national affairs. What is one foreign leader that you have that you just admire?
I admire the Prime Minister of New Zealand, Jacinda Ardern. She's young. I think she's 40 years old. And she did such a good job after the terrorist shooting in the mosque in a year or two ago. And she just was able to quickly get the country together and pass gun laws. She has been great on child welfare issues and social justice issues. And I just admire her personal style. She is a world leader that I think we all should study because she's got a great deal of compassion and she kind of leads with her heart.
Definitely. I agree with that completely. And it's great to see, a bit of a change in having a female head of state. I thought that was the most refreshing thing for me.
And young, and she had a child while she was prime minister. So that's
definitely
kind of cool.
Breaking a bit of taboos there. So just to dwell into some more of your character for the viewers tonight, do you have any bad habits that you keep up that you say, darn, I wish I could just break that off?
And I have to reveal them to you, Daryl, but I will. I have a sweet tooth. So I wish I didn't have a sweet tooth because I love the desserts. So it's I wish I could get rid of that habit. So maybe my New Year's resolution will be to, I won't say cut them all out, but maybe try to limit them.
Definitely. All right.
Yeah.
That habit.
I think a lot of us have those.
Definitely.
I think so, Dina. Yeah. There's too many ice cream stores in Delray Beach.
Okay, and final question for my part before I go off to Dina. What do you think your 18-year-old self would think of you now progressing forward as an adult?
Boy, that's a great question. I think my 18-year-old self would like me, but would have been surprised because I thought I would be anything but what I ended up doing, which is going into journalism and then into politics and into business. At 18, I wasn't 100% sure what I was going to do, but I thought maybe law school or something with maybe public relations or writing of some sort, not journalism, but creative writing or writing books. So some of that didn't work out, but life is kind of like that. And so it's important, I I think, to be flexible. And I think if somebody would have told me at 18 that this is how your life would have rolled out, I'd be pretty happy.
Wow, that's amazing, especially for us who are just starting to decide what we want to go into. So you were a journalist prior to entering a life of public service. Why and how did you enter this tradition?
Well, it's journalism, when you think about it, is actually great training for career in politics, because when you're a journalist, you're trained to look at both sides of an issue. You're also encouraged to talk to many people, develop sources to get a full picture of the issues that you're writing about. So when you transition over to politics, if you're a good politician, you should be trying to go out and get as much input from people as you possibly can. So those are skills that you develop as a journalist that I found very handy. I didn't plan to go into public service or to politics. I was encouraged by a former mayor in town. His name was Tom Lynch. And he sat me down one day. I think I was interviewing him. And he said, you ought to think about doing what I'm doing someday. And that kind of planted a seed. And that's kind of how life will work sometimes. You'll run into somebody, you'll see something, and you'll get an idea. And it may take a while, it may take a year or two or three or four, but that once that seed is planted, at least in my experience, I've tended to go for those things. So I ended up giving it a try. It was fun.
Well, definitely. Sometimes the most important, unexpected things are turned out to be the best. So that's cool.
Yeah, and that's a great point, Tina, in that, if we're open to experiences in life, especially as a young person, it opens up all sorts of doors.
Yeah, it opens the door for you in your career in public service. What was the most memorable moment for you as a mayor?
Well, I believe that mayors, the job is so local and so personal that the moments are not the ones you think. They're not the groundbreakings or the press conferences and all these other things. It's the little moments. And I saw Chief Saunders in the other segment said the same thing. It's the personal moments. And for me, when I started out, I wanted to get through that experience, knowing that I would lose some people along the way, because when you make decisions, there can be hard feelings, and especially in the local sphere of things, it gets very personal. But I wanted to feel that at the end of my experience in office, that I had the good people on my side, the people in town who were hard at work, rolling up their sleeves and making a difference in people's lives. If I can keep them on my side, I felt I would have succeeded. So my best moment was on my way out the door, when at my last meeting, I had a chamber full of people and they stood and clapped, and that felt good. I felt I had succeeded. That was the best feeling.
Wow, that's an experience, especially with people who share the similar values as you. So as a mayor, you led Delray Beach through a harrowing period with the shooting death of Jared Miller, a Black teen, by a white police officer. Delray Beach was nearly its tipping point. It could have easily been a Ferguson, or what played out in Missouri, or in the summer in Minneapolis. How were you able to avert an outburst of emotion in such a period?
That's a great question. And I've thought about what happened to Gerard every day since. And it's been this February will be 16 years since it happened. My daughter was the same age as Gerard when he was killed outside of the Delray Full Service Center. And so it was very personal to me, being a father of somebody that age. And I can't imagine what it'd be like to lose a child at a young age. So for me, I think what got us through was just being authentic and just showing the community that this was a terrible thing, not trying to spin it, not trying to deny it or defend it, but just to sort of acknowledge that this is a big tragedy. And what can we do? What can we learn from this? What can we do to make sure this never happens again? And I think people got that. We were trying to, that we were mourning, that it hurt everybody, and that we had had a lot of relationships that we had built up over the years that I think helped us navigate that time. I think cities get in trouble and mayors get in trouble when they don't have those relationships. And then when something bad happens, if they're out there and they're introducing themselves because people don't know them, that's a problem. But we knew each other. We had great relationships with the churches and community leaders and neighborhood leaders. And we all kind of came together and said, let's not let this moment pass. Let's do something about this. And I think we did. It was a very tough time.
Definitely. And it's really important for people to know that, we care as like a community.
Definitely. So, sir, what do you think of the state of your city
Well, I think
today?
it's a mixed bag, Daryl. I think there's a lot of great things going on in Delray. Some incredible nonprofits, work that the Knights of Pythagoras are doing, the EJS project, the Healthier Delray. So there's a lot of great community work going on. City is obviously successful in terms of its downtown, but we've got some issues. We've got some issues politically. There's some divisions in town that we never had before. We're not having the conversations we need to have on important topics, whether it's growth and development or education or race relations. We're not talking about this like we had in the past, and I think that's where we might get in trouble if we don't kind of have those conversations.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So what's not working in city government?
Well, what's not working is there's an issue with turnover at City Hall. There's been a bunch of city managers and city attorneys and department heads. And so something's going on, and I think we ought to take a look at why there's so much turnover. And instead of being a place that people want to come to work, we've got a little bit of a reputation as a place where it's tough to work. So I think we've got to get our politics back. Doesn't mean you can't disagree, doesn't mean you can't have a debate, but we have to have a culture where people feel safe to talk and to disagree, and then to move on and go on to the next issue. And right now we're lacking in some of those areas. It's hurting the employees.
Definitely. With experience as mayor yourself, sir, what representation do you believe, or representation to the people, a mayor of Delray should have?
Well, I think the mayor should be a kind of primary face and voice of the town, and an ambassador for the city. I think they should be trying to solve problems and also seize opportunities and be kind of a cheerleader for the town and try to get businesses to come and create jobs, and talking about what the real issues are. The primary responsibility of a leader, in my view, is to kind of frame the issues so the citizens can understand, and not be afraid to talk about tough problems and talk about them openly and honestly. You don't have to have all the answers, but you do have to raise the questions. You got to have the right questions.
Definitely. Thank you so much, sir, for coming on tonight. It was so refreshing to hear from you. I think the thing that was most unique to me is that usually for politicians, even though it's a bit of a stereotype to some reservations, you don't really get to see this rawness of character or emotion thereof to be interacting with us as children or the community in general like this to this level. And I think with your background as a journalist going into politics, somehow that created this unique sector of your personality to grow and be able to be transparent with us in a sense. And that is something that I actually looked forward to tonight. So it was great to end with you as our guest tonight. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much. And you're great interviewers, both of you, Dina and Daryl. You're really amazing interviewers. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, sir. It was a
Appreciate it.
pleasure.
Have a great new year.
Same to you.
You too.
Happy New Year.
Yeah.
All right, guys, ending off for what I view to be one of the most best broadcasts that we've had for this new year. Starting off, that will about do it for this week's edition of Community Conversation. We hope you learned something tonight that will make a significant impact in your life this year. Young people, there is no greater investment you can make on a Friday night than being with like-minded peeps on Community Conversation. Thank you to all of our guests for participating, for enlightening us, and a big sincere shout out to the Boca Raton Tribune for simulcasting us on Facebook and YouTube. A special thanks to our sponsors, Healthier Delray Beach, Blanc New Look Barbershop, DNA Total Fitness, Jeff Stern CPA, Wellness Financial, Roots and Wings, Ezra Krieg, Marsha Eisenberg, and Doug Young. As we wrap up tonight's session, we leave you with this message.
I'm screwed.
It's okay, Dina. It seems as if starting off on the year we have a bit of a tech iffy, but no worry for that. I guess we just need to go on the pretense to say for all of us today, learning from our last guest, please make sure that you wear your mask, you social distance, and you go over for your city's guidelines for the pandemic currently. Gladly to say that we have our first vaccine release in the United States. Please keep in tune for that and progress. Be safe and have a wonderful weekend, and let's stay together as a nation. Thanks for all of you for visiting tonight. Be safe. Happy New Year.